Hello, galactic travelers, cosmic crew. What's happening? It is December 14th, 2018. That is a 3511, right? Because when we look at the numbers, and as we awaken and we start, and this is what this video and that's what being a galactic human is all about, is just reconnecting our energy to the grids that are around us, which are called these timelines, and understanding what it was all for so that we can build now. And today, when we look at the numbers, so it's 12, so that's 1 plus 2 is 3. We have 14, which is 1 plus 4 is 8. So that makes it a 35 day and an 11 year. And then you add those up and continue to add them up. Hello, Shantilla. Hello, Lisa. Hey, guys, come on in. We're going to have kind of like a little, just a bunch of stuff's coming out. That I just need to start showing up and sharing a bunch of things that are going through my head. So this is a little all over the place, and I'm also guided to start really going back and explaining, how we get numbers and things and dates, because there's so many newly awakened beings and star seeds that have this information in their akash. They just need to see it just once or twice to make the connection. So I'm sure you guys are feeling this too. We're feeling the weight of our missions. We know how many can be affected and will be affected. We definitely at a soul level understand the responsibility, but right, it's then deciphering how to put that into effect. And oh wow, with this huge gateway, there's so much coming through. um just on a personal timeline of my personal experience, and gosh, and again, this goes back to star seedology and where your seed started, because for me, it was really at Polis in the original human civilization there, so like the first beings on this planet, that were like the merge. Some of y'all are carrying more from each side that came to make that, and also seeing the importance of this time energetically, because when you go back even to like CE times, when you go back to like CE, okay, that was like the first depopulation of Jews. Okay, it happened way back then, and it happened over Constantinople, which is the original Jerusalem, and this land they wanted to consecrate to Jupiter, and the Romans went nuts and wanted, and it ended up going for Zeus. I mean, this story has been replicated over and over, and then it gets crazy because then that the asteroids are just Jupiter's children. So it's like, okay, at a seed level, it's like it's being replicated over and over and over, and so it's like I'm also getting this massive downloads just about all the timelines that were imprinted over our history from the transit that we're in right now. So that's how powerful this transit is for us to create it for the new earth, for the true. It was created really quickly, and it just replicated over and over and over. So I want to kind of take this back a note, because this all has to do with our missions. Everything that we're going to talk about is like, because we're starting to see it happen. Um, and the crew, we're coming together, and and this is where we have to like completely drop our ego, and we and completely, and really trust our authenticity. And I started thinking about, what is authenticity? What is why was it that we had to us star seeds, especially the ones on this channel, because see, a lot of us, we're like the end of the first wave. We're like that split. It's like we didn't fit, some of us didn't fit quite in with that etheric light worker community. And I feel like it's starting to open up, but that's because energetically they were resistant of that alpha draconic and even some of the Syrian energy, but they didn't understand why. Okay. So, I mean, these shifts are happening all over the place within the human, because it's happening with energetically. Okay. But what's starting to happen is, we're guided to come together. Now, a ton of us have just come out of a ton of crap. So, a ton of us don't have a lot of money. It's funny because this all links back into, our experiences. And I can only speak from my experiences. But our superpowers are the fact that we made it through our experiences. Straight up, as starseeds, is what we came here to do, and we did it, and it's done, right? But we can use that as a platform to look back, and it's like, right now, it's so funny because when you look at your life and you understand it from this much high level position, then you completely understand why you're in the situation that you're in. Like, let me give you a for instance. Right now, Christy could not even go get a normal job to make a W-2 wage because there's all this mess going on with the government trying to tell me that I owe them all this money from some unemployment thing. Plus all the tax stuff that they still that it's been paid, but they want me to fight with them to prove that it's been paid. So I mean, it's like, right, I could have spent all my energy dealing with that. But it's like that the reason that I'm where we are is because that's exactly where we need to be. We can't be constrained to those 3D platforms. This is not how we create these new systems. We can't use the traditional ways that are already set up because they're energetically poisoned and they're not set up for us. There's going to be a resistance to it. I ended up in front of a casino in Oklahoma a couple of months ago in another synchronicity trip. And I went into the casino, in this little Oklahoma place. And I walked in and I said, I legit have a better chance of Daddy Warbucks driving up in the front and saying, Annie, get in, you're my daughter, than I do to go into that casino and win 20 bucks. Because energetically, I'm not aligned with that. I'm not gonna get money from the lottery. I'm not gonna get, right? I mean, because that's an old 3D system that we know is all fixed to rig, and our energy is pure. So of course it's gonna contrast it. We think that it's like, oh, we don't get all the luck, but we're not realizing that it's actually a blessing because that luck came with price tags that we really weren't ready to pay. Okay. And also realize that those are, energetic ties that are back to, our seed existence. It gets crazy and deep. But when we start talking about coming together, then this is where our ego steps in, and it's rough because, we're being humbled to come and ask the community. Well, this is when we start thinking about power of numbers too, because, I really started thinking about it. And, I know all of you guys that talk to me know that what we're building on this channel has always been about all of us. The BeCoCoCHI site is really a hub site just for us to send our audiences so they can see all of our services, right? I mean, and again, I have I've built a company in this physical before. Okay, this is my point. You see, When was I building this artificial intelligence and meeting with all these corporations and dealing with, I mean, I was dealing in the millions of dollars, looking at billions. Like, I couldn't even do the revenue anymore because it was blowing my mind. But it was artificial intelligence. And although I was putting emotions in the technology, it was selling the data in the back end because I was completely unconscious and locked into that existence, and I didn't even understand that it was being manipulated. I thought, but in that situation when I was dealing with that big, taking a step out in that leap of faith in 2012. Let's think about when this was happening. I sold my company in 2013, and then that's when the whole deal fell apart. But remember, I we were out selling it, so that artificial intelligence construct, even the technology was already, the government knew about it because Obama was using it. Okay, so this is how we were linked into these different systems. All you guys were linked in your lifetimes in like 2004, 2002, 2012. We because we're all on different programs and paths, we were all building for this time right now, all of our lives, is my point of this whole video. We were building for this time in our lives our whole entire time. And every single situation that came against us was just a training ground, and it was an opposition to learn a significant lesson. What we didn't lose anything. What we were building wasn't ready to be birthed yet. It was too big. It was too big of what you were building was way too big to rest it all on you not hankering down these last 7 years and getting rid of all these energetic ties that we didn't understand were associated with it. This was on ourselves, this was on our projects, this was, so that's why we wouldn't abuse our powers. That's right. Not only that, but now that we're awakened beings, I mean, what we were building was all in the physical. We were building computer applications. We were building, right? We were putting our power into that technology. Well, it's not the technology, it's actually the human being. The human being, and the way we think about things and the connections that we make energetically and telepathically is really the true energy of what BeCoCoCHI is. We know that now. We know that it's all energetic. We know that as each star seeds start awakening, then they're energetically connected to us, and they're all going to start coming to us. It's only our job with the technology to give them a clean platform to come to so they can energetically find us. And plus, remember that when you talk about branding and you talk about all of these things, I mean, that's the most important thing. Jennifer's gonna is social media. That's been her whole life. She's had similar stories like losing careers and stuff like I did, but hers was on social meeting. She's getting on board, so it's like what we're looking at is, okay, what social media really is the true energy. Okay, so the old platforms are doing it for you. They're controlling where your energy goes. They're controlling if you like or don't like it, or I mean, and they're gathering all this information through, right, but that's the artificial. So the organic is that energetically, whenever you turn on YouTube and my video pops up and you're like, how the freaking who is that, or you have synchronicities that lead you, that's the true, that's the organic. So that whenever you click on the video and you either resonate or don't resonate, see a synchronicity or don't see a synchronicity, because that's just the universe pulling that pulling that energy in so that you'll resonate to it. It's up to us and our mental construct to dictate what timeline and what reality we have that experience on through our energy. But all those all those points are going to happen as long as we're resonating. And this is right. So it's like those old structures of building technology and building these big, the all of those constructs have to be rewritten. And so that brings me back to, so for Lisa Transcendence Brown and Katie Endicrow and Todd, they're building Solify right now. We're building BeCoCoCHI, and getting to Australia and getting some t-shirts and stuff out so that which is Peace Dealers doing this too. You see, we're all doing this together. We start wearing it on our shirts. The people start seeing. BeCoCoCHI is a website. It also has all of everyone's services on it, is what we're building to. And we can get there really quickly, depending on how much support we get, just to get started, because the thing makes its own, it'll build itself once it gets started. Right. And then that's music festivals, that's artists. This is going on all over the world. This isn't my ownership of anything. BeCoCoCHI is just the place to represent that energy, and it's the numerology, and it's already in the collective. Okay. It really is. You know how many people are saying CoCo. So understand that if you don't support this channel, that's okay. Okay. But understand too that right now, energetically, some of us, we're having to let go. We're all coming to our different points of our ego of letting go of those 3D constructs. And we know about this humble lesson that a lot of us are coming out of right now, where we legit had to just have faith that we were going to have money to eat tomorrow, have faith that we were going to have the money to get this tomorrow, have faith. And and it's funny because those of us who are in that situation are also the ones, that were running, $3 million organizations before in the past. So it's like when we're setting up businesses and doing that again, we're having to break those constructs because we don't want to go, just financial industry. No, we own it. And guess what? We can set it up and own it if we all come together with 200 people for $22. Come on. We just have to get everyone together. But our ego is saying, "Oh, she just wants me to send her money because she needs money for something." And that's normal. Okay. But see, understand that at a much larger level, all we're doing is kind of moving that money around, and it's creating an energy. And with the portals and this is with anything you're doing, giving to anyone, getting sessions, whatever, and I know that a lot of people don't have a lot. That's my point. But a lot of people do. And if you're holding on to it and you're not giving, then it's like you're missing your that's your way to give it back, because it's gonna come back at you. Holy crap, can you imagine what the energy is gonna come back to the people who are giving? I mean, that's the point. That's what money is about, right? I mean, no one wants to talk about money. I don't really want to talk about money either, but I got to show up and talk about this right now because it's so important, because that money has to move around. We need to give it back and forth to each other. And if there's energy that's going out, then we need to receive it. Well, us way showers are kind of stuck in this position with this right now because we need to make our services available to everyone, and we know that financially it's one of those things, but at the same time we have to charge more because of the energy that's coming at it, because we're spending so much time trying to market and advertise and do all these things. So then it takes up so much of our time to keep it flowing and going, plus the energy that we're sharing, because we don't have platforms to break it down and sell at bite-sized pieces, like Starseedology. I could make videos and just do, okay, if you're Lyran, watch these, and for $9 each or $10 each, so that energy's funneling in, and so I can keep them going, but that and everyone's getting the information, right? And then people that can't afford 222 or $300 for a session, right? But I mean, that's going to change too, because the energy is starting to open up, but we got to get it going, and this is look, I watch my videos and take my own It's like Christy's job is to watch the videos and put the and do what I say, okay? So, anyway, I don't wanna get off on it, but since we're on it, we'll just end it. I set up a GoFundMe account, and legit, if I can get 20 if 200 of us can send $22, and we've already got to. So 198 of us can send $22. We will not only have enough money to get to Australia, which opens up all the doors on this channel in our community to those upper echelons of Laura Eisenhower, of Will Cox, all I mean, Lord, if I can get us to those conferences. I don't know what's going to happen. Plus the eco village stuff there. Plus I'll be doing all the videos there. Plus that's a different dimension altogether because I know that we're going there in order to see how they are living in these eco villages and just putting that into the consciousness so that we can start understanding some other ways of living here. And the Philippines is right there, and that's where the fashion line stuff I mean, there's and the hemp line. I mean, it's so much. Plus, we don't need the full 4,400 to get there. With that much, with $22 for 200 person, that would also give us enough money to get the website completely done, ready to go, and at a point where I can start plugging people in. I mean, it completes it all. So I don't want to get off on that, but if you resonate, I'm going to put a link down below. Okay. But we're all helping each other. The other thing that came up on this business thing that is evidently the topic of this conversation was I started thinking about lunch. I was like, you know what? I spent in the corporate world, I spent all my time at lunches. That's where lunches, dinners. I mean, someday I would have 3 lunches a day. Of course, my clients never knew, but I just didn't I got fat even though I was, like, not eating hardly anything at each meal. So, I started thinking about this, and I'm like, "You know what? We need to do, like, chi bites, chi lunches." So another thing that I'm offering is and this is and really, I think that this is something that y'all we can just share, and you can start offering this to each other within the crew, and is like, okay, and this came up because I offered up, email me if you want to talk. How much money do you have? Because I understand that if you've got $40, but I mean, and you can't give me but 20, well then let's talk for 20 minutes. Or what emails can I give to you? Or, what can we do for that, right? Because that's what it's all about. Because I know, because the energy that you right? Okay, well, she said, I would, if I could put it in my budget to buy you lunch, if you were here. So I was like, great, buy me lunch. Oh, this just came out. And so I started thinking about it, and I'm calling it Chi Bites. And it's like it's basically $55. But look, you know, as soon as I get stable, I'm going to be buying lunch, right? We normally had corporations that were paying for these lunches. So this is just a way to kind of move money around. So not just with me, but take this as a concept. Especially if it's if it's on creating projects is where I'd really like to do this, So if like you know that you're resonating, to get in touch, because all these things that I'm talking about, because straight up in the numerology, we're building an empire. I mean, it's like in things aren't even getting started really, 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 really huge until 2052. But it's in there. Like this is the starts of this is this is the start of this is amazing times and start of so if you want to get in buy me lunch, okay? And it's $55. It'll be an hour. We meet on Zoom, and that way I'm getting some energy in and connecting this, as we're getting these things started. And I just think that that's brilliant. And you guys can run with that. Please do, because I mean that's what this is all about. None of this is just about me. So I really want to don't want to talk about that anymore. But so I'm going to be going back and forth with this, okay? And just think about that from an energetic perspective, because that's what the whole point of all this is about is, it's not so much as this is how we've been held down. It's like this is the energy that's been holding us down. Okay, so let's understand how to utilize that energy, because there's an artificial and there's an organic reason for all of it. For every organic thing that energetically happens in the process of evolution, ascension, and internal ascension, the matrix is throwing to people, and has been throwing us artificial of all of it. So we know that. And 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 when I started thinking about, okay, our missions and us feeling this, it was like, the thing is, our superpowers is that we made it through it. Our superpower is that you made it through it. And look, I did this too, because whenever we first wake up, it's like we everything that fell apart in order to wake us up, we ran from. I was like, I am never I am never going back into corporate. I'm awakened now. I'm going to be a shaman. I'm going to live in the woods and just freaking leave me alone. And I don't want to deal with contracts, like, legit. I don't want to look at it, and forget it. Well, do you really think, I mean, now come on. That's Christy the human. Dang it, my earbuds just I hope y'all can y'all Woo, that was weird. Can y'all still hear me? I just had like a little thing pop up. Um do you really think that we would have lived out all those experiences as a star seed, right? I mean, because we came in here and we mapped out those experiences. We're the ones who made the changes in those experiences, you know, from a timeline, constructual, like females in business. Holy crap, us star seeds came in here and kicked some ass since the 70s, right? I mean, all that energy and everything that we were all doing within those organizations, every single time one of us made it through some type of oppression, we all launched up. I mean, that's how it works, okay, energetically. So, so what? Of course, we're going to step back into those roles, and as I was thinking about that, it's like all those experiences are not just the ones that we want to share with everybody. They're not just the experiences that we want to get up in front of everybody and share. Because most of the time, because, today's an 8 day. We've got this huge portal open. We're all looking back at original siege stuff. I'm looking at it from a star perspective, from a being perspective, from a Christie perspective. I mean, shit, it's bam, 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 bam. But when it gets down to the Christie perspective, which is the one that is the most important, because I'm the human, so I have to ground that as soon as I bring in all those dimensional perspectives and I make a new story for Christie and the human, then it becomes a human timeline. This is how we're so powerful. We've been creating the whole time. We just didn't know we were. I need to keep reminding you guys of that. So, listen, what does that mean? That means we're connecting, especially this channel. A lot of us, because I've done a lot of y'all's charts, we have a lot of, and why you resonate to me is because I have that alpha draconic and Syrian energy. We are a little bit more get up badass. We are a little bit more, I don't want to listen to angels. I want to hear you rock and roll. It's because we came up through that, right? But that's the human, that's the galactic human, that's the point, you know? And so we don't need to hide that, and we don't need to be ashamed about the experiences that we've had anymore. And and I can't talk too much longer, but all of this is led up to this, because when we all that because and understanding the human part, it's so easy for us to just go off galactically and just be like, okay, this is all coming together on dimensions, and yes, that is what's happening, and yes, we need to hold that focus, and yes, we don't need to be out building things like in 3D. But the more that we understand fully what all we're collapsing, then and bringing, then the more we bring, because we bring in all those dimensions together with awareness, okay? And if you look back at your life, you're going to have these faded moments. Even whenever you are unconscious, you're going to have these faded moments where things happened. And this is personally for Christy, and this is I'm going to want to share, and I have some crazy personal stories because, I was completely unconscious, but now when I look back, it's like, and I knew legit straight up I had angels stepping in and talking to me, and I mean through physical people. I mean, like you guys, crazy freaking experiences. But these are the experiences that I feel like I have to be vulnerable and share because, and of course, in my experiences, they're linked with things that I'm a little shameful of. And so I'm going to tell you the story because this is what is our superpower. Understanding that there is no attachment to these events. Okay? FYI, most of us have, especially within certain bloodlines, all have people around us in our families or in our personal lives that have been to prison. It's a template because of the lineage and the bloodlines. Because it was all signed, your contract has been assigned over eons and eons and eons through your lineage is linked back through genetic and star races that you didn't know, which is what all is being cleared now. Okay, so anyway, y'all all know that I'm this is an example of those pivotal fated moments that we might hold some shame or guilt to, but then we see how they came into our awareness in that way because of the consciousness we were at. So this is like in 1990 something. I was in my 20s, 1995, okay? And so 96 is when I graduated college finally. Long story too. And I was living in Houston, and I grew up in a small town like many of us did in Texas, and I didn't know much of anything. I was adopted. My parents adopted me when I was 5 days old. That's a whole nother story. That is so freaking beautiful, and like you, one of those huge, just everything the stars aligned. But my parents in this life never taught me anything. Never taught me anything. I mean, number one, I know why, because they didn't even soul at a soul level, they weren't even going to bother because they weren't supposed to, because I had to learn everything the hard way by experience, which is like a lot of us did, whether we were orphaned or not or whatever. Okay, so but I always knew I was adopted, but I was told that they didn't know who she was, and it was a private adoption because my adoptive dad actually was the accountant at St. Joseph Hospital where I was born. And they had just lost a baby that died. It lived only 2 days, and then my adopted mom had to have a hysterectomy. So this all was October 1972. I mean, do you see these series of events? So that the universe set up, that we had set up in order for us to step into our path. Okay, well, I was adopted. Let's fast forward. So now I'm 26, 27. I'm dating a drug dealer, right? Because I lived in a college town. I mean, that stuff was everywhere, I mean, and I was a little not mischievous, but I also I was a star seed, so I was bucking the system. I was trying to figure out who I was. We had this divine feminine merge of sexuality that in those timelines too was just like, man, it, it, y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay? So, and we were in those times we weren't connected like we are now. So it's like you didn't know what was going on anywhere else. It was really like you were in the Truman Show. You only had around you to see what was available, you know? So, anyway, they told me that they didn't know who my birth mother was. And honestly, um, I had really blocked it out because when I was 13 and I was supposed to tour Russia with a dance crew in 1985, but it got canceled last minute. A lot of us have had trips in our lives that have got canceled last minute because energetically on the planet, we couldn't make that move yet. Or it was blocked or hijacked, right? So anyway, I went and it was in the 80s, and so I had to go to the courthouse and they didn't have computers, so it was just a big book, and when they got to my name, it was completely blacked out. Okay? And that's when I really got when I was 13, holy crap, I'm adopted. So there was also that manipulation when I was 12 or 13 years old with the hyperbaric chamber and the I'm with with the doctor who reported directly to Eisenhower and some timeline shifts that were hijacked somewhere in that time in my life because when I was being sent down in that hyperbaric chamber, immediately my personality shifted and it was my parents just thought that I was being a teenager, but it shifted my timeline. It really did. I mean, it changed the I can't even describe it. It didn't adjust until I woke up when I was 44. Now I can see it. I'm digressing, but I'm just sharing with you guys some of these experiences because this is important because we're all one. You guys have had some of these experiences. You know, they're all because we just had to get here. It was like my main mission was to get to this damn planet. However, however it came to be, and my lineage just assisted me getting here no matter how it happened. So at this point, I when I saw that, they told me if I ever wanted to know who my birth parents were, that I had to go to a judge. They were going to have to unseal the document and have to contact her and tell me and see if she wanted to be contacted. Well, Christy was like, hell no, I'm not going to let her reject me again. So I put it out of my head and I really forgot about it. My parents told me when I was 18 if I wanted to know that we would find out. Well, then it just kind of went past my memory and it was like it wasn't a big deal. It was actually a blessing because and this is where, you see the contrast in this. I'm blessed in a lot of ways through this ascension process because I'm not emotionally and energetically tied to everyone around me because I don't even know what that felt like. Okay, so I mean, understand too that that's why a lot of this stuff was happening. Okay, and we were in the families that we were in. So I'm I'm going long and short of it because the story's fixing to get good. So I'm living in Houston and I'm dating someone and he's dealing wheat and so it I was little blonde Christy, so it was pay. I was in college, so I would drive down and pick some up and bring it back. Well, this trip he went with me, and we got busted. And my mom didn't know where I was. Her car was impounded, and when you get in those situations, your instinct just kicks in. And I, was like, I don't know who you are. I mean, I don't know what's in the car. What's in the car? Long and short of it, I was able to get out of it. Okay, but for 2 days I was in city jail, and it was like $30,000 to get us out. I mean, it was crazy, crazy story. He had the money. We our friends were all getting together trying to get us out. Meanwhile, my 26-year-old blonde booty was in Brownsville County Jail, which is in Mexico. And I know I'm getting out the next day, but when I go in there, there's one blonde woman who looks a lot like me. She's in her 40s. I was like 27, and she came up to me and kind of took me in for the night. But the first thing she said to me was, "You look just like my kids." And I was like, "What?" I mean, at this point, you can only imagine, like, what state you're in. All this stuff is going on. You're like, "What the heck? What am I?" And so I said, "Okay, well, you didn't happen to give a baby up for adoption, did you?" And she said, "No, but my sister did." So I said, "Well, was what year?" 1972, which is the year I was born. Where? Because I'm down like at the south point of Texas, right? She says Brazos Valley, which is this little bitty county where I was born. What month? She said, "I don't remember what month, but it was in the fall, autumn." She said, "I remember it was in the autumn." Well, I was born in October. So here I am in Brownsville, this college student fixing to graduate from University of Houston. And I'm in this deep mess. And here I meet this woman who tells me, I found my aunt, and I found her in Brownsville County Jail. So I get out, and legit, the lawyer that bails us out came in on his private plane, flew us from Brownsville to Houston, showing my boyfriend at the time the correct routes to run the drugs next time. And I'm like, I'm getting out. My parents don't even know where I am, but I got to call them because I found my aunt. So I get home at 1 o'clock in the morning in Houston. My parents are 2 hours away. I call my mom. I wake her up and I say, "Mom, I found my aunt." And she says, "What's her name?" And I say, "Well, what do you mean, what's her name? You don't know who she is." And she said, "Yes, we do know who she is." And so what ended up happening is when I was born, Sister Patricia was the nun in the nursery. And when I was born, my mother hadn't told anyone that she was pregnant. She didn't have any plans or anything because it was a date rape. So she hid her pregnancy. And since my adopted parents had just lost a baby and my adopted mom was made to have a Sister Patricia knew that they wanted to adopt, but my adopted mother had diabetes, and so that was life-threatening back then. And so, it was hard to get a baby. So they legit, I was born on October 7th. My adoptive dad's birthday was October 6th, and they took me home near my adopted mother's birthday on October 12th. It's crazy. Well, the Sister Patricia told my dad who my birth mother was in case I ever wanted to know, and he kept it from my adopted mom until I was 8 years old because my birth mother was legit my adopted mom's bank teller because we live in a small town. So when she tells me no, that's not her, I lose it. My parents drive up, from Houston, and this is, but by the way, it's a great way to tell your parents that, "Hey, by the way, I just got out of jail and I'm in a lot of trouble and the car's impounded," at the same time that they're telling you that they've lied to you for 27 years about who your birth mother was. It was a nice little exchange. But, right? Okay, do you see a couple that this came up with me today, and I wanted to share this because that was a fated event that had to happen. That was pivotal. For 15 years I didn't contact my birth mother, and then I'll share more of the story as we go. And I don't have contact with her now. I got in contact with her, but I didn't. Then throughout this awakening experience, finally my birth fathers, I got in touch with my birth father's family, so they know I exist, although they could accept it for a few days, but then they couldn't even accept it because he's passed and they never knew about me. So so none of those are supposed to be attachments in my life. I didn't find out so that I could anchor back into those realities. No, I found out to show me those lineages for this now so that I could find out who I was. And because it was so buried, then it was all coming up throughout my physical experience throughout my life. Now, if I would have been 20 years old and been more conscious and had more coaching so that I could and understood what was coming at me like I do now, then I would have had a totally different experience of finding out that information because I would have set up an experience that the universe could work with because of what that dimension. I mean, this was also in the 90s. I mean, there was a lot energetically going on with all of this. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but the, I mean, this specific person had to end up in that specific place and be, whether it was, I also know that energetically beings have come up into my reality to give me, that's how these dimensional things work, you know? So who knows? But the point was that I was thinking about today was all of these things, and that's my superpower. My superpower is that at a soul level, I completely understand so much about all the abandonment issues that anybody can ever possibly tell me. At a soul level, all of us that have lived through and come out of the healing of the Orion Starseed sexual abuse, the sex slavery, all the shit that went back through all those lineages, that all was an energetic tie that was put on those specific lineages and programs, from the very get-go. So since you made it through that, whenever you're healing that, that's your superpower. It's like everyone's like, healer, heal thyself. Chiron, it's like, healer, heal thyself. And that's the thing, and it's so hard because, yes, a lot of us are supposed to be showing up and documenting, our journeys so that we just have catalogs. So that our ego gets in a battle of, we can't heal somebody else until we're completely healed, so check that, make sure that's not going on, but not everybody's meant to do that, right? But then also, if you're sitting there struggling with like not knowing what it is your gift is that you live through your experience and what are the connections through that experience, and you understand on so many dimensional levels how all that energy came to be to even happen for that experience in this dimension. Then it all makes sense to you, and it's how you release all of the judgment of all of it, and that is your Chiron, releasing the judgment. And I know that we say that we're not, but you are. I know we say that we're not judging, but we are. It's and our light is getting so high that it's like, this is what, someone, even the one of the ladies that I talked to this week said, when you asked for money, I had, a flash of it, like it dissonance with her, and then she realized that it was a mirror, and she knew it was true because it was authentic, right? I mean, we're getting beat up from all that stuff and we're judging it. Let's don't judge it. Let's utilize the system that we have, just like we're utilizing the life that we set up, because that was the plan we set up. So you're just going back within this lifetime and within your seed, and we're picking up the bags, we're connecting back in, we're rewriting our story wherever we are now, with the culmination of all the Harry Potter books that we've written about ourselves. We've read them all, and now we're coming up with a new movie. And if we just do that, then we're CoCoCHI. I gotta go pick up my son. I'm gonna be doing more of these and not so tripping out about. I'm just gonna show up and just start saying whatever it is that comes on my mind, because there's so much coming through. So y'all might even see me on some lives with like different things pointing if I don't look quite right. If y'all are willing to listen, then I'm willing to show up and do it. Let's just open up these channels, and I'm gonna go pick up my son and I'll put the GoFundMe link at the bottom here. Y'all follow me, y'all know how to get in touch with me, okay? And if y'all want to help raise money for it too, I would be greatly, greatly honored. I realize now that I just have to ask for everything. Nothing is going to be handed to me. I have to ask. So I'm asking for support. I'm asking for some to buy me some lunches. Let's get together. If you're called to co-create, let's see where our ideas can come up, because just us thinking it builds it. So set up lunches with other people that you're feeling, and let's kind of start moving this energy around to create new energy. It's why it's 55. Okay? So I love you guys. Bye. Hoot hoot.